Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Truth and Reconciliation Act and some things I've noticed that are coming out on other creators and people who post that are things we've discussed in the past. I'm going to talk about Merrick Garland. I'm going to talk about Biden, the Biden boomerang. And what do I mean by that? Well, we'll get into that. It has a little something to do with Richard Nixon and then trusted positions. So I want to see how everybody's doing tonight. And we remember where we got that term, trusted positions. And who's in trusted positions? We're told that there's patriots in trusted positions. So I was going over some of my older videos. Hi, Kathy. How are you doing? Where I discussed Merrick Garland. And earlier today, I was looking at some posts on Truth Social. And if I'm allowed to say that, Clandestine came up with something like it was a light cutting on concerning what I had talked about in the past. And many of you have been with me since the beginning. Probably remember a video I did with Merrick Garland, and I talked a little bit about it last night, where I said the left needed a hero and that he may very well be a white hat. And I'll go over a post from Clandestine, and I responded to him. And when I get a better signal, I'll be doing videos where I can post pictures and things of that nature rather than this format. But anyway, how many of you remember hearing about the Truth and Reconciliation Act? That is something that Donald Trump signed. And it's, I believe, playing a role in what we're seeing and what is happening now. And I think it's may have been referred to as a PEAD, P-E-A-D, Presidential Emergency Action Directive. Lisa Marie died, is what I heard, Kathy. Cardiac arrest. That's right, Lori. Suddenly. And if I use a D-I-E-D and then the other word suddenly together, that's another thing that gets you in trouble because they don't want people talking about stuff like that. So the Truth and Reconciliation Act is a presidential order that the basics of it is that the American people are going to be shown things they haven't been shown, namely the truth, and for government agencies and individuals to basically do what Lincoln wanted to do after Civil War, was bind the nation's wounds, reconcile. And we often ask, how in the world can the left and the right in this country get back together? There's such a chasm between us as it seems. And in a prior video, I had said that the left needed a hero. They need somebody, once they find out what we're dealing with is a common enemy of both the left and the right, rather than each other being the enemy. We're going to find out that there's a common enemy. And a lot of this stuff, I enjoy the show, comments, and just eat popcorn, things like that. I've talked about in the past. I don't agree with that. But there's no denying that to a large extent, we are watching a show. And right, White Lightning, I see what you're saying. Lefty's saying Biden documents were planted. Let me go out of the screen here. If my voice goes out, I'll be right back. I'm going to read a quick article on who that was that said that. Here he is. Hank Johnson, someone might have planted Biden documents to get him. Representative Hank Johnson, Democrat Georgia, suggested someone might have planted caches of classified documents on President Joe Biden to frame him. That's a Breitbart article, CNN Politics. Now, my stream didn't break up, did it? Hi, Nikki. Yes, please hit the thumbs up. And to my new subscribers, welcome aboard. I'm just doing a live stream tonight to talk about something I talked about in the past, and the lights are cutting on. And the thing is that Garland is in a powerful position. And wouldn't it shock everybody if he were to put out an indictment, which is just talk, no evidence, nothing else? But in my mind, if he put out an indictment on Biden for any number of things, not just these classified documents, any number of things that has crossed his desk, he would have to be Ray Charles not to see money laundering, international crimes, domestic criminal activity. And now this is just plump and plain a vice president with no authority to even possess the tippy top, as one reporter put it, classified documents, much less take them to an off-site facility or a number of off-site facilities. And where these threads lead, with Garland, I discussed in the past how he had a very bland public persona. You know, he wasn't a firebrand. He wasn't somebody controversial. He never attacked anybody. I never heard him attack any politician, any group of people. Never said anything about anyone except Timothy McVeigh, who bombed the Oklahoma Federal Building, and he was in charge of the prosecution and that ended up in subsequent execution of Timothy McVeigh. And it was quick. It was very quick. And I talked about that in a past video. And for those of you who hadn't been with me, I pointed out that was the first time to my memory. Many of you may not have seen it or weren't old enough to know about it, but that was the first time in my memory where they televised his face. Timothy McVeigh's face was isolated on the screen. You were watching the news and you saw this person's face as his life left his body. That is the first time I have ever seen anything like that. In the past, there's been electric chair or whatever, they put a hood over their head. Any way that you could think of that they serve that punishment out, they put a hood over their head. That's the first time in my memory that's what happened. I mean, it was none of these businesses of 20 years of appeals, nothing. It was a trial and then a subsequent punishment. So that was Merrick Garland's high point. You look around, he was nominated as Supreme Court Justice, but he's been under the radar for the most part. So let me see this statement here by Clandestine on Truth Social. He says, after a couple other posts, he says, for those that don't get it, Trump and the right said he didn't conspire with Russia or interfere with the election. The left didn't believe it. The left only accepted it when Mueller and Rosenstein said it, because the left We're conditioned to like them. Mueller and Rosenstein. Trump and the right say Biden is a criminal. The left refuses to accept it. Do we think the left will accept Biden as a criminal if Garland says it? Do you smell what I'm stepping in? If Garland indicts Biden, the left can't say SHID. So hopefully I didn't drop out of the stream, but he was basically saying, echoing, and in prior posts he put up on Truth Social, what I had said some months ago, I believe it was about 6 months ago, that in order to comply with the Truth and Reconciliation Act, a presidential directive, we have to have a scenario where this country can reconcile, come together, and they need heroes on their side. We can't just have a situation and expect to have a functioning nation if everybody we think is a bad person gets snatched up and frog walked down to Gitmo. So when you look at Garland as a whole, at his career, interviews in the past, which I played an interview with him, he's very, very run of the mill. He's been married for decades. He's got grown children. Somebody said one of his children may have been, a member of the gay community, not the alphabet community. There's a difference. And a lot of gay individuals are adamant in pointing that out. There's a difference between gay and alphabet. Now I'm not in either one of those groups, so I don't, put my opinion out there. I'm just stating what I have heard. White line, no hashtags. Yeah, that zeroes them in on me, buddy. Appreciate it. Anyway, where was I? So with Garland, you see that he's now appointing a special prosecutor to Biden. He's appointed this other Jack Smith, who Trump has come out on Truth Social and called a crazy person, that his wife was like a maniacally anti-Trump. He's using terms that are very strong. And so we see this chasm and this fisticuffs, politically speaking. But you look at that method of approaching a situation the same way as with the speaker battle we just saw. People going at each other's throats, but in the end, unity. And I'll get into the details of that little drama with the speaker later. But right now I'm focusing on this Truth and Reconciliation Act as it applies to how to handle this situation with Biden and what he represents. He represents the island. And everybody that hadn't been living under a rock knows what island I'm talking about. He represents dirty money. He represents money laundering. He represents young individuals being involved in things they should not be involved in, or approached in ways they should not be approached. He is the figurehead. After we saw the so-called Christmas decorations in their house. So it's an embodiment, and it's also tangled up, as we're finding out with this Penn State situation, with his documents at Penn State, that he was getting $1 million a year. And he said, I was a professor. He didn't teach one day. They called him a professor, and they gave him $1 million a year. And who was giving money to the University of Pennsylvania? The CCP, Chinese Communist Party. They were just passing it straight through, money laundering or whatever, however they want to term it. And I had also made reference to Penn State being in trouble last year, some professors being arrested for having human beings, okay, I'm going to put it that way. Some people call them bags of cells, that they were experimenting on in their labs that were beyond a normal gestation period. And I'll put a copy of an article up or a video by the Epoch Times concerning that. And if you read between the lines, it's very unnerving what those professors were doing. And they just changed the label on something. You and I would say the word infant. They say the word fetus. Okay? And that's supposed to make it okay. And when you get down to point when they have a very young individual like that, there's no record of who they are, nothing, no birth certificate, nothing. They can do whatever they want. So I can get into that in another situation, but here you're tying Biden into all of that. And when you look back at when Garland had been interviewed or discussed anything to do with situations going on, he always talked in general terms. He said that the president is not above the law. He didn't say Donald Trump. Whenever he talked about radical or violent groups, he talked in general terms. People who actually commit these violent acts. And I'm going to go further to say, let me put my pot on here so it'll get hot. I can make me another cup of coffee. Ha, ha, ha. But anyway, I'm going to go further to say that when Trump got everybody built up, I'm going to make a big announcement. The first time he had everybody show up at that huge ballroom in Mar-a-Lago. Yes, he did announce he was going to run in 2024. But what did he do before that? He said, Nancy Pelosi is out. She's gone. I believe that was his announcement. All of us were surprised. A lot of us were wondering, how come Nancy doesn't hand the gavel over to McCarthy? That's because she had already surrendered the office. And I think Trump's historic announcement was that we had reclaimed the House of Representatives in this battle, okay? In this battle to form our new republic. And I've never seen that before, where a speaker transfers the office to somebody else. It doesn't matter if the guy's name was Hakeem or whatever his name was. But she was playing ball because she had to. And now we got a unified conservative party that is all singing the same song. And if they're not, they better be. So, in charge of all the investigations, in charge of the purse strings for where the money is getting spent. And like Trump said in one of his posts, they're now in position to undo everything. But they got to be smart about it. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Robin. Hi, Simpson. Hi, Finding Dory. How's everybody doing? If I miss anybody in the chats, I apologize. Hi, Ronald. How you doing? I've been out there working, digging myself back in the day. How wide and potato driving an electric car, Lori says. I don't know, Lori. He said he would get an electric Corvette that would go 200 miles an hour. That's what we got coming. Yeah, I know. We got to talk in codes. I tell you, if I had something going on Rumble, I could really get into this business of operations like they were doing at Penn State. Okay, it's way worse than a lot of people know. That is one of the difficult truths that are going to be coming out. One of the difficult truths, and it's going to be hard for people who were on the bandwagon of my body, my choice, and they made the decision, and they're going to find out that in many instances they thought something was a terminated situation, but that their young one was in a lab somewhere. I don't know how else to put it. That's going to be very hard for a lot of people to accept. So that's down the road. Right now, we're working on giving our government, from the politicians, the judges, the prosecutors, all the way up and down the line, an enema. And we're identifying and pushing people out in the spotlight, people that are not part of this truth and reconciliation thing. They are going to be exposed, like a lot of these judges that are making some of these rulings that are entirely alien to the interest of justice as practiced in the past, and in the witch hunt and everything else against Trump. So I'm glad to see that that's coming out. I hope it doesn't upset any apple carts or any plans, but we were told in one of the last posts from our favorite letter that there were patriots in trusted positions. And I feel that Merrick Garland is one of those people. Now, what has been constructed here for Biden to have to deal with is, since Nixon, when he felt he was getting put in a corner, and I won't get too deep into Watergate and all that, he was set up, he was forced out, okay? Nixon was. He was framed. Well, he did what's called the Saturday Night Massacres, is what the Washington Post dubbed it, when he fired a prosecutor. And, well, that's been verboten ever since. So everybody knows, or most people know, a lot of people know, that Hillary Clinton that was one of her early government jobs, was building a case against Richard Nixon. Joe Biden started as a senator back in the 70s. So they're all part of that big club. And let me tell you, a lot of thought went into how to remove Nixon, how to get him to do what they wanted him to do, such as going to the petrodollar, which I played a video of his announcement of that, and I'll do that in future broadcasts, and who they were going to replace him with and how they were going to replace him, with little to no input from the American people. Okay, so all these individuals were involved back in the day. Now this boomerang is coming back to hit Biden between the eyes. He can't fire Garland. He can't do a Nixon. He can't do a Saturday Night Massacre. He's got to go along with what Garland's doing. And what other things are going to come out of these discoveries? We don't even know what the classified information was. Some people are saying it's Iran. I'm sure it was. Some people are saying it's got to do with China. But when you take stuff out of the White House and squirrel it away, but you think you're untouchable. You think you're on top of the world. You think you're the big guy to where you can leave it in a box in your garage. But the thing is, you think you have total control over it. Nobody knows about it. You could have some very serious documents. And I think it's going to be information not just on Iran, China, but tying into how they were going to try to remove Trump. And it's probably going to concern things that or strategies that we haven't heard, the public hasn't heard about yet. I mean, we're talking very serious things, and Garland can't ignore that. So it's going to be very interesting, and I think Garland is probably very well protected. I happen to think now that I'm 99% certain that Garland is a white hat. As I said, his past and his family history, his resume, if you will, never gave me the impression that I was dealing with a Clintonite or a person who dances around the owl at Oak Grove. Nothing like that. So Biden can't touch him. This Jack Smith guy, they say he's in Spain after a bicycle wreck or something. I don't know too much about him except that Trump is putting out noises that he really does not like this Jack Smith person. But he's put out noises that he didn't like people in the past, and he's reconciled. He's spoken kindly at Pence, and I've said in the past about Pence, people that say, oh, Pence is a traitor, Pence did this. If Pence were to have kicked that stuff back to the states, there would have been civil unrest, and we'd have never got to this point. We would have never got to this point that we're at now of discovering. We knew it. We know everything that's coming out does not surprise us. But the majority, 80% of the Americans, don't know what's going on. And we'd have never been able to bring this stuff out in a peaceable way. It's a gauntlet we all had to walk through. Let me see what everybody's got to say here. The whole bunch of them thought they were untouchable. Yeah, that's right, Georgia. The arrogance is beyond the pale. That's right. That's what brings them down. And somebody, I apologize, I can't remember the person's name. Somebody put in the hard comments on my last video. They said, I don't even think Trump can't even stop what is happening, what is coming. Trump can't. And that's the truth. It's picking up steam. It's taking on a life of its own. The giggler's up after the potato steps down. Now, we don't know what has happened there with her. There's now the questions about John McStain not being eligible to be president because he wasn't born in the U.S. Well, that wasn't true. If your mother's an American, same with Obama. If your mother's an American overseas and you're born overseas, but your mother is a citizen, you are a citizen, even if you're born outside the country. But I don't know what her story is as far as her eligibility for president. So we'll see about that. And we don't know what may crop up in her. What have you heard about her or heard from her except a giggling, goofy nonsense? Very low key, very quiet. Ronald said Garland is not a white hat. Well, let me tell you that we've heard before that probably 90% General Flynn said 99% of the politicians were dirty. But that doesn't mean all of them are not salvageable, where they can still perform a service for their country given their positions and their willingness to avoid punishment. I'm not saying Garland has done anything to merit punishment, but I know that I was very in tune with political situation back during the Clinton administration, Waco, Texas, the Murray Federal Building bombing, all that stuff. I knew all the players. I knew who was no good and who was a problem. I knew about Janet Reno and the rumors that were going on about her trying to get dates with other girls with illegal drugs and stuff because she was so damn ugly, and she was not an attractive woman. Remember on the Beverly Hillbillies, Mrs. Hathaway? Mrs. Hathaway made her look. She made Mrs. Hathaway look like Lauren Bacall. So, yeah, she was a hideous woman. But anyway, I can't point to a statement, a news story, or anything about Merrick Garland that would lead me to believe that he is part of anything other than being a liberal lawyer, like the old school liberals I've talked about in the past. You think she was a man? No, she was just an ugly woman, and she was, alternate lifestyles, the way they used to call it. So, if anybody can think of anything that Merrick Garland has done or said that would lead you to believe that, he doesn't have an inordinate amount of wealth. He didn't get put into some sweetheart position like Maria Abramovich getting put in as president of some college or Joe Biden $1 million a year to be called a professor. He's done nothing like that. He hadn't written any books to get any kickbacks. He hadn't done like a Hunter Biden, painted any paintings to get dark money from mystery people. I have not heard one thing. I'm not saying there isn't something out there. I'm not saying that at all. But as far as my memory of his reputation, it's unblemished. And you got to think about long term. The Truth and Reconciliation Act was signed by Trump, and it is a process. I won't use the word PLAN. It's a process to where, by order of the president, to get information out to the public, accurate information, and to do it in such a way as to reconcile the citizens of this country, because we've still got to live together. We've had liberals and conservatives since day one. Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton hated each other's guts. And Aaron Burr shot Alexander Hamilton in a duel. There's been strife and disagreements ever since the birth of the country, and there always will be. But in the end, we were Americans, and we pulled for a common cause, and we tried to live under the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. We have now a common enemy which wants to attack and destroy our Constitution, wants to find fault with it, wants to describe it in an inaccurate manner so as to discredit that document. They want to get in there, and they have gotten into our educational systems and turn our children into people who are uneducated about the past of our own nation. So that's the common enemy. And we've got to find a way to reconcile. And I can't think who on the left besides Merrick Garland. Let me put this question out to the chats. Who besides Merrick Garland is in a position to unify the people once what we all feel in our hearts is going to go down? That this nation is going to come out, just like Trump said, the best is yet to come. We're going to come out stronger. We're going to come out freer, and we're going to come out unified. Who else? The media has taken Trump to a point where there's some people, even in the Republican Party, that respect the Constitution, they just don't like him, and he knows that. So you need somebody from the other side to help draw the sides together. Who else do you see that has an unblemished record and is in a position of authority and power that can get the other side to say, yeah, you're right, there is crime going on that doesn't need to go on? I don't know who that could be. I'm looking for any names. Jussie Smollett? No, he's not gonna help. No, I can't think of it. I think Merrick Garland is the key right here for pulling people together, especially if he's got the goods, if he's got the evidence. So they confirmed that about Lisa Marie, that she had cardiac arrest. Oh, Ronald, you're talking about Gina Haspel? Who? Wait a minute. Where's that comment? Talking about the raid in Frankfurt. Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, they went to all that trouble to kick Nixon out after what McStain referred to as the Kennedy intervention. If I ever find that video clip where he says, after the Kennedy intervention, John McStain. But after that, they had to get rid of Nixon. And so they framed him, they set him up, and they created a situation that weakened the presidency to the point where he was at the mercy of Judge John Sirica. He was at the mercy of prosecutors, much like this Jack Smith is being portrayed, and he couldn't do anything about it. And the media were after him like rabid dogs. So they created this monster of how to take down a president. Now Biden is looking at the same situation, but he's elbow deep in this stuff, and he's guilty, in my opinion, allegedly. Okay. I don't know, Lori, if they do. If Iran has a ship in the Panama Canal, yeah, Haspel was. You think Haspel is a white hat, Ronald? Because I heard she was back home with her kids, her grandkids. I mean, having her foot heal up from that conflict in Frankfurt that Louis Gohmert mentioned, of all things. Now, I responded. Now, this is another from Clandestine. Mueller was appointed by Trump. Rosenstein was appointed by Trump. Sessions was appointed by Trump. They conducted the investigation. The media and the left were coerced into worshiping these players under the illusion they were going after Trump. The concept is simple. The left will only believe earth-shattering news from people they have been conditioned to like. So when we condition the left to like people who end up delivering bad news to them, enter Garland stage left. Were you all able to hear everything I said there? Enter Garland stage left. That Trump appointed all these players, Mueller, Rosenstein, Sessions. Okay. So in other words, this is all part of the Truth and Reconciliation Act, a PED, Presidential Emergency Action Decision, or it's a part of the continuity of government. And Merrick Garland has been in government since the Clinton administration, and he's been given his orders. And that's what I feel is the case. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I won't eat my hat. I won't eat my shoe. I'll just say I'm wrong. But I feel that he's got to play both sides of the fence. And when the evidence is so overwhelming, I'm not saying he's going to arrest Joe Biden. Hunter's not out of the question, no. That would not surprise me one bit. Adam Rich from Aiden is enough, really. Phil R says, Adam Rich. So we heard about Lisa Marie today. I guess I'll be darned. Will President Trump go back to the White House this year? I tell you, it's like Trump said way back in his presidency. He said, I don't tell them what I'm doing. He was talking about ISIS, but he was saying in general. I mean, after J20, if he did go back in, he would be eligible to run for another 4 years because it's less than half of a full term. So that's something else to keep in mind. So it could happen. It could happen. And I tell you, this silence on Brazil, I'm gonna get to that in a second. There's some when things get quiet about big issues, there's something going on. That is a huge story. But I think the thing that would be interesting for everybody to do now is find out who is in trusted positions. I'm raising my finger and my hand in the air saying, I think Merrick Garland is one of the people in trusted positions. So that's the thing to look at, behaviors and their actual words when they talk about something. It may sound like Merrick Garland, it may have sounded like he was after Trump, but his actual words were, no president is above the law. Well, if he said those words today, it wouldn't sound too good for Biden, would it? It wouldn't sound too good for Obama, would it? What if Obama were to be the first one? He's gotten awful quiet. Kamala Harris has been awful quiet. But speaking of awful quiet, is the situation in Brazil. I haven't heard any news today at all. I did hear that the admiral who had publicly stated that he would not salute this new person, Lu, and the second part, La, the individual who was convicted of money laundering and then released from jail and is now president of Brazil. the admiral said he would not salute him and would not recognize him. I've heard that he has been forced into retirement. I also found a video clip of a lot of people laying down citizens and police with riot gear on and batons, and they're picking people up off the ground and look to be some kind of theater or something like that. And some of them were soldiers. But I'll play that clip in another thing. So the last we've heard is that there has been friction and a standoff between the Army and the police forces, and that this admiral has been taken down, and that they're saying that Bolsonaro is responsible for the destruction of the buildings. And we even have a member of the House of Representatives, Joaquim Castro, publicly accusing Bolsonaro of being a criminal and having to go back and answer for his crimes. So Bolsonaro said he wanted to go back early, which could be at any day. Do you think they're going to arrest him if he goes back? What would happen to the country then? Will this rift between the police and the military be repaired to the point where that would just be allowed to happen? Or would that be the trigger point? Now, we've got just about every major nation in South America, Venezuela, Chile, and Argentina, siding with the current claimed government in Brazil that they would send troops in. That's almost the entire continent of any nation of consequence. So I was talking with Red. For some of you who may have listened to that phone conversation he played on his channel, I said, yeah, Taiwan's a flashpoint, basically. But Trump has talked about World War III. And he said the other day that things are getting ready to blow up. And could Brazil be the flashpoint for a World War III scenario? We've got the situation going on in Russia and Ukraine. We've got the situation that is bristling in Taiwan, but nobody's talking about the situation in Brazil. So I think if Bolsonaro goes back, I hope he doesn't, because I don't see how they could resist letting him stay free. And if they do anything, he's already been stabbed once and almost lost his life in 2018. David says, Peru's having hell in their country too. I saw that. That's where they took out a pink revolution president, and the demonstrations are not what they seem, David. I'll go into that, but we're not hearing any reporting on that, except that the government is under pressure from demonstrators. But my understanding is the Congress removed a president with communist leanings, and our CIA director went down there to try to turn things around. From Brazil, he tried to influence the situation in Peru and failed. So these demonstrations might be Peru's version of ANTI and then the FA, okay? That might be their situation, because Peru, as far as I know, has been the only nation that has successfully resisted what the media calls the pink tide. They call this guy Lulu part of the pink tide, and the changeover in Venezuelan government to socialist part of the pink tide, and this guy in Peru was part of the pink tide, but their Congress got him out, and the military would not back him, and they arrested him. So I remember something being said one time that there was be something happening from a country we would least expect. And I'm wondering if Peru might not be that country. Maybe they'll throw their hat in the ring to help with the Brazilian situation or help with Bolsonaro's or give him asylum. But there's gonna be something happening concerning Bolsonaro soon, because he has to get a new visa at the end of 30 days, which is coming up, or he's got to leave the country, and his visa has got to be approved, and it has to be a different visa because he's no longer a head of state, according to the Biden administration. So that is going to come to a head, and it's just like I said with the Tsar and the Bolshevik Revolution. They put his whole family, him and his family, they ended his whole family's life in order to retain power. These people are vicious, and Bolsonaro, I'm sure they know he's in danger. So let me see what's going on. It is a bizarre world. Anyway, this broadcast is viewer supported and creator supported only. I get nothing from YouTube or any other platform. I have a link in the description for anybody who wants to help the channel out. Buy me a coffee link. And I appreciate all my subscribers and my new subscribers. Let's see. I'm reading here the outage. We're talking about, well, you know this thing with the airplanes? I thought that it might have been to give Bolsonaro an excuse not to have to go back. When I said, well, that's too soon for that. But then again, you think right away, I said, oh my gosh, it was to create a different story besides these documents coming out about Biden. Because these are statutory crimes. This isn't like dreaming something up or twisting some words around to make Trump look. Trump was president of the United States. He had the absolute right and authority to have those documents. He allowed the National Archives to come in and see them, see where they're stored multiple times, and they still raided him. This isn't like that. This is totally different. Biden had no authority to have those things. It was criminal that he had them in his possession. And what the contents are, I believe, are going to lead to exposing a lot of other criminal activity that can't be ignored. And what did Biden say what he does with classified documents? I give them back to the military. He gives them back to the military. That means he receives them from the military. So I'm willing to bet that military intelligence knows what he's got and knows what's in those documents. And Merrick Garland, even if he wanted to hide them, he can't. So anyway, so Merrick Garland, by your deeds, so shall you be known. Let's see what he does. Let's see his moves from here on out. And other people who we may have thought to ourselves, oh, he's a bad guy. Oh my gosh. Well, who might be playing a role? It takes good actors to make a good movie, right? And I don't see I didn't see any name crop up concerning who is in a position to reconcile our country between the left and the right in, let's say, public service. The only one I can see is in a position of authority is Garland. Biden isn't gonna unify this country. Trump's done it as much as he can to this point with Congress. That's right. We have it all, Georgia says. Cynthia Breed has info on Brazil. Ronald says, I'll have to check her out. Well, they'll probably find more. They said it's 3 different places. 3 different places. Don't worry, they were in his lock Corvette. Well, they'll find them in more places than that. I don't know. We get any trolls, Nikki? I haven't been reading the chats until now. I'm scrolling through them. We got some liberals last night. Kind of had some fun with them. One of them got kind of nasty. Had to go. Well, they were all, pretty much nasty, but I mean, foul language. I don't see. Sometimes Nikki will she'll pluck them off like a sniper. Robin says, when you know, it's terrible. That's right. It's terrible. All right, folks. Let's see. You always, B-Dog, it says, I always thought he was a supervillain. And let's see, who are you talking about, B-Dog? Oh, yeah, Cheney. You talking about Debbie King said Cheney? Yeah, he always gave me the creeps. Even when I was like everybody else thinking George Bush was going to avenge us for 9/11, bring our national safety and pride back by all this, and it was all a bunch of all a setup. But even then, Cheney gave me the creeps. The way he talked, the way he looked around. I tried to be a good Republican, but he gave me the creeps. How you doing, Tennessee? I'm just wrapping it up, buddy. Just going through the chats to see what's going on. Babylon B, I'll have to check that out. McStain, yeah. I tell you what, I can remember putting signs up for him. I mean, and that was after, oh my gosh. Anyway, I can remember, McCain bumper sticker with a star. He's a war hero. And then you find out all the stuff, and you think about all the times you ran around trying to help that crooked bunch, the Uniparty, and just we're all getting played. And the same with Romney. Romney was told on the night he was debating Hussein Obama. He was told about what was going on in Benghazi. It happened the night of that debate, and he made a weak statement about it, and then just shriveled up and didn't amount to anything. But anyway, folks, we can talk about that stuff in the beginning. I'm coming up to my hour. I thank you all so much for joining me, and thank you to my new subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, please think about subscribing, and you hit the notification bell, and when I go live, you can be part of the chats. So, or you can just watch the chats go by. And if you tune in after the live stream, you can play my videos at 1.25 speed with my country cadence. It comes out just the same anyway. But anyway, y'all have a great night. This is Mountain Man, over and out.